What if a protest in your capital wasn't just angry voices, but a foreign operation designed to tear your nation apart? This is the true story of how Captain Ibrahim Traoré captured a French spy hiding in plain sight. What followed shook Burkina Faso and sent shockwaves far beyond. The midday sun scorched the streets of Ouagadougou. Dust clung to the air as chants rang out. Protesters filled the square, shouting words of resistance, but something about their rhythm felt wrong. Captain Ibrahim Traoré crouched behind a low wall, sharp eyes fixed on the crowd. To most, it looked like another rally. To him, it felt like theater. The slogans were too perfect, the banners too polished, the voices too scripted. His gaze locked on one man. A figure in a red scarf stood apart from the crowd. He barely shouted. Instead, his hand brushed his ear again and again, like someone adjusting an invisible device. His lips barely moved, as though whispering to a ghost. Traoré's instinct screamed, "This is no protester." Two plainclothes officers closed in. In seconds, their hands clamped onto the man's arms. The red scarf fluttered to the ground as gasps rippled through the crowd. Whispers spread like wildfire. "A spy! It's a spy!" Heart pounding, Traoré followed as the man was dragged into a waiting tent. This was no ordinary arrest. This was the spark of a battle that would unfold not in open fields, but in shadows, where betrayal lurked and loyalty was the only shield. Inside the interrogation tent, the air was thick with silence. The captured man sat straight, eyes calm, his face betraying neither fear nor panic. On the table lay a battered device seized from him. A technician tapped the screen. The room stiffened. "This transmitter," she said, "links directly to satellites. Secure channels, foreign military grade." Another officer pulled a small scanner across the man's boot. It beeped. Hidden beneath the sole was a second transmitter. Every heartbeat in the tent grew heavier. The spy tilted his head, lips curling into the faintest smile. "Observation," he murmured. "That's all I was doing." Traoré leaned in close, voice low but unyielding. "Observation becomes invasion, and I will not stand by." The technician's eyes widened. "Captain, this device has mapped every communications tower in Ouagadougou." Gasps filled the tent. Traoré's stomach tightened. This was more than surveillance. This was preparation, an enemy blueprint to paralyze an entire nation. The spy's gaze was steady, almost mocking. If one man could carry so many secrets, how many more were hidden in plain sight? That night, under flickering lanterns, Traoré studied encrypted chat logs intercepted from the spy's device. One name glowed like a wound, Bako. The name pierced him. Bako was not just an advisor. He was a mentor, a man who had guided him through his first battles, who had shared laughter over burnt coffee in long nights of war councils. And yet here it was, proof of secret communications between Bako and foreign operators, transfers of money into his family's accounts. The betrayal was undeniable. Traoré's chest tightened. Memories clashed with fury. A man I trusted with my life, maybe my enemy. He could not sleep, could not close his eyes without seeing the name. By dawn, his decision was made. Bako was summoned. The older man entered quietly, his shoulders slumped, his face heavy with secrets. He avoided Traoré's eyes. Traoré's voice was steady, but his heart raged. "Tell me the truth, or I will treat you as a traitor." For a long moment, Bako said nothing. Then his voice cracked. "They threatened my family, promised safety for my children if I passed information. I thought if the worst came, at least they would live." His hands shook. His eyes welled with shame. Traoré's anger burned, but beneath it was sorrow. This was no greedy betrayal. It was the weakness of a man cornered. "You trusted the word of those who would destroy us," Traoré said quietly. Your fear almost killed our hope. Bako bowed his head. I can make it right. Let me help. The room was silent, every officer waiting for the captain's judgment. Finally, Traoré stepped forward. He placed a hand on Bako's trembling shoulder. Your mistake will become our weapon, he said. You will feed them lies. And through you, we will set the trap. That evening, the command center glowed with maps and code. Traoré stood at the heart of it all, eyes burning with resolve. We will give them exactly what they want, he said. A fake military deployment north of Kaya. Dates units, everything real enough to fool their satellites. The room buzzed with tension. A young communications officer tapped at her keyboard. Ready to send, sir, through Bako's channel. Bako swallowed hard, sweat beading at his brow. He nodded, his second chance alive in this dangerous gamble. The message was sent. Minutes later, analysts watched as enemy networks lit up. Encrypted channels pulsed with activity. Operatives mobilized, whispering instructions, arranging meetings, moving weapons. The bait had been taken. Traoré's lips tightened into a grim line. Tonight, we close the net. Darkness cloaked the city as the trap snapped shut. Unit 1 stormed a convoy of NGO trucks. Inside, crates of weapons hidden under blankets of food supplies. Unit 2 intercepted a group at the riverfront, seizing coded documents meant to trigger chaos. Unit 3 exposed journalists who had taken bribes to spread false leaks, their faces pale as evidence piled around them. Each raid unfolded like a lightning strike, silent, sudden, merciless. By dawn, over a dozen operatives were in chains. Yet as one prisoner was dragged away, he spat on the ground and sneered. Stop us today, but the real strike is tomorrow. The words hung heavy, poisoning the air with dread. Hours later, chaos erupted again. One spy slipped through, the original man in the red scarf. Clutching a flash drive, he bolted through rain-slick streets, weaving through the night markets. Traoré himself gave chase. His boots pounded against the cobblestones, every turn a gamble. The spy leapt onto a stolen motorbike. Engines roared. The chase tore through narrow alleys, sparks flying as metal scraped walls. Fruit stalls toppled, crates scattered. People screamed. Don't let him reach the embassy, Traoré shouted. But the spy was fast, desperate, reckless. Finally, the glowing gates of the French embassy loomed ahead. Guards shifted nervously as the spy sprinted forward. Traoré skidded to a halt, rain dripping from his face, eyes blazing. For a heartbeat, the world froze. Would the embassy shield him, or hand him over? The embassy doors swung shut behind him. But moments later, they opened again. The spy was dragged out, wrists bound, the flash drive in a soldier's hand. Inside the command center, the files were unlocked. Screens lit with damning evidence. Planned bombings, staged protests, networks of foreign agents, journalists on secret payrolls. The truth was undeniable. The next morning, before the nation, Traoré raised the flash drive high. His voice rang like steel. They thought they could break us with lies. But lies burn in the light of truth. And today, we stand united. The crowd roared. The evidence spread like wildfire. Television replayed every image. Radios repeated every word. Citizens poured into the streets, not in fear, but in unity. Children waved flags. Elders wept openly. Soldiers raised fists in solidarity. And among them stood Bako, once a man of shame, now redeemed through courage. For the first time, people believed, not just in Ibrahim Traoré the soldier, but in Ibrahim Traoré the leader. Our unity is our weapon, he declared. Our loyalty is our shield. The chants echoed for hours. Unity! 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 That night, Ibrahim stood alone on a balcony, the city lights shimmering below. He thought of the spy's cold eyes, of Bako's tears, of the chase through rain-soaked streets. Each moment had tested him. Each betrayal had scarred him. But in those scars, a new strength had been forged. "Some wars are fought with bullets," he whispered. "But this war, we won with truth." The dawn broke golden over Ouagadougou. Children marched to school with heads held high. Traders opened shops without fear. Soldiers patrolled with pride instead of suspicion. Burkina Faso had been shaken, but it had not broken. As long as Ibrahim Traoré stood, the nation would never bow to shadows again. And somewhere in the morning crowd, voices whispered the truth of what had happened. One man captured a spy and gave a nation back its courage.